Imagine a kingdom so powerful that it ruled over Egypt, shaped the course of history, and yet remains largely forgotten. Nestled along the banks of the Nile, the Kingdom of Kush was home to mighty pharaohs, skilled warriors, and architectural marvels. But how did this ancient civilization rise and fall into obscurity? In this video, we uncover the secrets of the Kushite kingdom, a civilization that not only influenced the ancient world, but also has left a legacy that still echoes in history today. The Kingdom of Kush, an ancient African civilization that flourished for over 1,000 years, was located just to the south of Egypt, in what is modern-day Sudan. This kingdom, often overshadowed by its more famous neighbor, Egypt, played a pivotal role in shaping the history of the ancient world. The origins of Kush date back to the early dynastic period of Egypt, around 3000 BCE. The first traces of the Kushite people appear in Egyptian records as a group of Nubian tribes living in the region. But it wasn't long before the Kushites began to rise, eventually establishing the Kingdom of Kush. It was a land rich in natural resources, particularly gold, which made it a valuable and strategic location for trade. The kingdom was initially made up of several smaller tribal states, but under a series of powerful leaders, these tribes united into one strong, centralized kingdom. The first Kushite ruler of note was King Pi, who, in the 8th century BCE, launched a military campaign to conquer Egypt and establish Kushite rule over the Nile Valley. This marked the beginning of what historians refer to as the 25th dynasty of Egypt. It's also known as the Kushite Dynasty, where a line of Kushite pharaohs would rule over Egypt for nearly a century. Kush's rise was not just due to military prowess, but also its mastery of trade. The Kingdom of Kush was strategically located at the crossroads of ancient Africa and the Middle East, enabling it to control vital trade routes between Egypt, the Arabian Peninsula, and sub-Saharan Africa. Its wealth was derived from a combination of its abundant gold mines, valuable trade goods like ivory, and its agricultural productivity, particularly along the Nile River. However, it wasn't just the economy that led to Kush's rise. The Kushites were also remarkable builders and engineers, creating impressive architectural feats, including grand pyramids and elaborate temples, some of which still stand today. The most notable of these are the pyramids of Meru, which serve as a testament to the kingdom's architectural and cultural achievements. These structures were not only symbols of the power of the Kushite kings, but also centers of religious and political authority. Kushite society was deeply intertwined with religion, with the king considered both a ruler and a divine figure. The Kingdom of Kush, much like Egypt, believed in gods and goddesses who controlled the forces of nature and life. The most important deity in Kushite religion was Ammon, the god of the sun, whose worship was also prominent in Egypt. The connection between the two kingdoms was so strong that many of the Kushite rulers took on Egyptian-style names and titles, reinforcing their connection to their northern neighbors. Despite their military success, the Kushites were not invincible. Their rule over Egypt was eventually challenged by the growing power of Assyria to the northeast. By the 7th century BCE, the Assyrians had become a major force in the ancient world, and they swiftly conquered Egypt, forcing the Kushites to retreat southward to their capital at Napata and later Meru. But even in retreat, the Kingdom of Kush continued to thrive, maintaining its power and influence in the region for centuries to come. This section provides a glimpse into the rise of the Kingdom of Kush, but as we'll discover in the following sections, their story doesn't end with their retreat. The legacy of the Kingdom of Kush continues to influence modern understanding of ancient African civilizations. At the height of its power, the Kingdom of Kush was a dominant force in North Africa and the Middle East. The 25th dynasty of Egypt, a tone known as the Kushite Dynasty, was one of the most significant periods in both Egyptian and Kushite history. During this time, the rulers of Kush not only controlled Egypt, but also profoundly impacted its culture, religion, and political structure. This cultural flourishing in both Egypt and Kush left a lasting legacy, with the Kingdom of Kush becoming a beacon of power, religion, and art. The Kushite dynasty began with King Pi, the first Kushite ruler to conquer Egypt, but it was under his successors that the full power and cultural impact of the Kushites were realized. Pi's son, Shabaka, ascended to the throne of both Kush and Egypt and established a unique blend of Egyptian and Kushite traditions. Shabaka and his successors believed in the idea of the restoration of Egypt, promoting a revival of the ancient Egyptian religious practices and traditions, which had been eroded by previous foreign rulers. The Kushites were keen on maintaining the religious and cultural heritage of Egypt. And during their reign, Egypt saw a resurgence of ancient customs. One of the key aspects of Kushite rule was their deep commitment to religious rituals, particularly their devotion to Amen, the sun god. The Kushites did not merely adopt Egyptian religious practices but expanded and enriched them, becoming custodians of Egypt's ancient temples. King Shabaka in particular made significant efforts to restore Egypt's temples and to reassert the central role of Amen, making it clear that the Kushites saw themselves as the true protectors of Egyptian tradition. The Kushite pharaohs were not just rulers, they were also monumental builders. Under their reign, Egypt's religious landscape was transformed with the construction of massive temples, and they expanded the architectural legacy of the Egyptians. Temples like the Temple of Amun at Karnak were renovated and rebuilt under Kushite influence, and the Kushites even constructed their own religious sites, such as the Temple of Jebel Barkal in Nubia, which became an important religious center for both the Kushites and Egyptians. While the Kingdom of Kush's influence in Egypt was undeniable, it is essential to remember that Kush itself was a vibrant and culturally rich kingdom with a thriving economy and its own distinct traditions. The capital city of Napata, located at the foot of Jebel Barkal, became a center of intellectual and cultural life. Scholars, artists, and craftsmen from all over the region gathered here, making it a hub of knowledge and creativity. The Kushites were also skilled metallurgists and craftsmen, renowned for their production of iron, which was one of their major exports. Meru, the capital of Kush following the fall of Napata, became a significant center of iron production, and the Kushites' mastery of iron technology gave them a military and economic advantage over neighboring civilizations. The iron smelting furnaces of Meru were an extraordinary feat of engineering, and they allowed the kingdom to produce weapons, tools, and luxury goods that were highly sought after throughout the ancient world. Despite their many achievements, the Kushites were not merely passive followers of Egyptian culture. They developed a unique Kushite identity, evident in their art, writing, and social structure. The Kushite script, derived from Egyptian hieroglyphs, used to write the Meroitic language, and this writing system remains one of the most significant legacies of the kingdom. Although much of the Meroitic script has yet to be fully deciphered, the presence of this script on monuments and inscriptions serves as a testament to the Kushites' distinct cultural identity. The Kingdom of Kush also had a rich artistic tradition. Their artwork often depicted both Egyptian-style figures and uniquely Kushite scenes, combining the influences of Egypt with their own creative expressions. The most notable Kushite artistic achievement was their construction of pyramids, which were built in the Nubian region. The Kushites built over 200 pyramids, including those at Meru and Nuri, many of which were smaller but more steeply angled than their Egyptian counterparts. These pyramids were built as tombs for the Kushite kings and queens, and their structures, while less famous than Egypt's, are a testament to the Kushites' architectural and artistic ingenuity. The Kushite Dynasty in Egypt marked a period of great political and cultural achievement. The Kushites brought a new energy to Egypt, preserving and enhancing its ancient traditions while also asserting their own identity. The dynasty not only reinforced the power of Kush in Egypt, but also allowed the Kingdom of Kush to thrive in its own right, leaving behind a legacy that would influence both Africa and the Mediterranean world for centuries to come. Despite the grandeur and achievements of the Kingdom of Kush, the civilization eventually faced a gradual decline that culminated in its collapse. This decline was due to a combination of internal strife, external pressures, and changing political landscapes in the surrounding regions. The story of Kush's fall is one of shifting alliances, military defeats, and the gradual loss of influence in the ancient world. One of the key factors contributing to the decline of Kush was the weakening of its control over Egypt. Although the Kushite dynasty ruled Egypt for nearly a century, their rule was challenged by the rise of powerful external forces, particularly the Assyrians. By the 7th century BCE, the Assyrians, led by the ruthless king Tiglath-Pileser III, had become a dominant power in the ancient Near East. The Assyrians were relentless in their military campaigns and swiftly overran Egypt, ending the Kushite Dynasty's reign in the land of the pharaohs. The fall of the Kushite Dynasty in Egypt was a significant blow to the Kingdom of Kush. With their southern neighbor under Assyrian control, the Kushites retreated from Egypt and focused their attention on their capital at Napata. However, the political and military challenges did not end there. Over time, the Kingdom of Kush began to face increasing internal instability. Power struggles between rival factions weakened the central authority, and the kingdom found itself vulnerable to external threats. Around the 4th century BCE, the Kushite capital was moved to Meru, located further south of Napata. The city of Meru became the new heart of the kingdom and was strategically located near the Nile's cataracts, which made it easier to defend. Meru also became a center of iron production, and the kingdom prospered once again, especially in terms of trade and military might. However, the shift to Meru marked the beginning of the kingdom's isolation from the wider Mediterranean world. While it still controlled key trade routes and maintained a powerful army, Kush's influence waned as other civilizations, such as the Romans and the Byzantines, rose to prominence. Meru's isolation grew more pronounced as new external forces began to challenge the Kingdom of Kush. The Roman Empire, which had conquered Egypt in 30 BCE, turned its attention toward the Kingdom of Kush, seeing it as a potential rival in North Africa. The Kushites, despite their impressive military capabilities, were unable to withstand the growing power of the Romans. And by the 1st century CE, they had lost much of their influence. Despite being largely isolated, the Kingdom of Kush still had its share of loyal allies. However, the constant warfare and the declining power of neighboring states led to a slow but steady erosion of Kushite power. The arrival of new invaders, including the nomadic groups from the Sahara and the desert regions of Libya, further weakened the kingdom's defenses. Over time, the Kushites could not repel these invaders, and their once great empire began to fragment into smaller, more isolated tribes and regions. One of the most telling signs of the kingdom's decline was the abandonment of its magnificent pyramids and temples. While these structures had been symbols of Kushite strength and culture, many of them fell into disrepair as the kingdom's power diminished. By the 4th century CE, the Kingdom of Kush had lost much of its former grandeur and was reduced to a shadow of its former self. The once powerful kingdom, known for its military victories and architectural achievements, had faded into history. Despite the fall of the Kingdom of Kush, its cultural influence did not disappear entirely. The legacy of the Kushite people, especially their contributions to the arts, architecture, and religion, left a lasting imprint on the civilizations that followed. The pyramids of Meru, the iron furnaces of Kush, and the inscriptions written in the Meroitic script all remain important remnants of a once great civilization. The decline of Kush also serves as a reminder of the cyclical nature of history. Great empires rise, flourish, and eventually fall, but their legacies continue to shape the world long after their demise. Though the Kingdom of Kush may have faded from the pages of history, it remains an integral part of Africa's ancient heritage and continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and enthusiasts alike. Although the Kingdom of Kush eventually fell, its legacy continues to resonate through history. Today, the influence of the Kushite civilization can be found in many aspects of African and world history, particularly in the fields of architecture, culture, and religion. The remnants of Kushite achievements, from monumental pyramids to impressive ironworking technology, continue to inspire awe and admiration. One of the most enduring legacies of the Kingdom of Kush is its architectural contributions. The pyramids of Kush, particularly those found at Meru, are perhaps the most iconic symbols of the civilization's power. These pyramids, although smaller than their Egyptian counterparts, were distinctively steep and numerous, with more than 200 pyramids built over several centuries. Unlike Egypt, where the pyramids were built for pharaohs, Kushite pyramids were primarily built for kings and queens, reinforcing the importance of the monarchy in Kushite society. The Meroitic pyramids, with their unique design and artistry, stand as a testament to the Kushites' architectural skill. The intricate carvings and artwork that adorned the tombs within these pyramids depicted the royal life and provided insight into the Kushite worldview. These pyramids not only served as burial sites but also as symbols of divine power, much like their Egyptian counterparts. Even today, they remain one of Africa's most significant architectural achievements. Beyond the pyramids, the Kingdom of Kush is remembered for its significant contribution to the development of ironworking. The city of Meru became an epicenter for iron production. The Kushites developed advanced iron smelting techniques that allowed them to produce large quantities of iron tools and weapons. This innovation gave the Kingdom of Kush a military advantage and enabled them to maintain control over vast territories. Ironworking was so integral to the kingdom that it became one of its most important exports, helping Kush maintain economic power and establish trade routes throughout the region. In addition to iron, the Kushites were also known for their expertise in gold mining. The Kingdom of Kush had access to some of the richest gold deposits in the ancient world, which made it a key player in the trade networks of Africa and the Mediterranean. Gold from Kush was highly sought after and was used to craft jewelry, coins, and religious artifacts. The wealth generated from gold mining helped sustain the Kingdom of Kush and allowed it to build a strong military and infrastructure. Kushite religious beliefs also left a lasting impact on the region. Much like Egypt, the Kushites worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses, but they also adapted and incorporated elements of their own culture into their religious practices. Amen, the sun god, was central to Kushite religion. The Kushites were responsible for maintaining Egypt's most important temples dedicated to Amen. The Kushite pharaohs, revered as divine rulers, often carried the title of God's manifestation on earth, reinforcing connection between the divine and the monarchy. The cultural and religious traditions of the Kingdom of Kush also influenced other African civilizations, including the later kingdoms of Aksum in Ethiopia. These kingdoms were strongly influenced by the Kushites' religious practices, their architectural styles, and their ironworking technology. The Kingdom of Kush, despite its fall, served as a model for future African civilizations and helped shape the trajectory of African history for centuries to come. Furthermore, the Kingdom of Kush's influence extended beyond Africa. The Kushite rulers who conquered Egypt during the 25th dynasty left their mark on Egyptian art, culture, and governance. The blending of Egyptian and Kushite traditions during this period was a significant moment in history, showcasing the interconnectedness of African civilizations. The Kushite dynasty's rule in Egypt is a reminder of Africa's power and contributions to world history. Often overlooked in mainstream historical narratives, today the Kingdom of Kush is rediscovered and celebrated for its rich cultural heritage. Archaeological discoveries in the Sudanese desert have uncovered important Kushite artifacts, inscriptions, and tombs, shedding light on the kingdom's grandeur and its place in history. The study of Kush has become an essential part of understanding the development of African civilizations and their role in shaping the ancient world. Though the Kingdom of Kush may have fallen long ago, its legacy lives on through the stories told by historians. The ruins that remain and the cultural impact it had on both Africa and the Mediterranean. The Kingdom of Kush's remarkable achievements, from its military prowess to its architectural innovations, continue to inspire admiration and respect, reminding the world of the ancient civilization that once ruled in the heart of Africa. In modern times, the Kingdom of Kush is experiencing a revival of interest, as archaeologists, historians, and even everyday people are rediscovering the rich history of this once great civilization. For centuries, the Kushites were overshadowed by Egypt. Their contributions to the ancient world were largely forgotten. However, recent archaeological efforts and research have brought the Kingdom of Kush back into the spotlight, and its story is now being told in ways that were once unimaginable. In the 19th and 20th centuries, many of the most significant Kushite sites were rediscovered by Western archaeologists. Excavations in places like Meru and Napata have unearthed important artifacts, including royal tombs, inscriptions, and even tools from the kingdom's renowned ironworking industry. These discoveries have helped fill in the gaps of the Kingdom of Kush's history, revealing its cultural richness and importance in ancient Africa. One of the most important developments in the study of Kush has been the deciphering of the Meroitic script, the writing system used by the Kushites. While the script remains only partially understood, the effort to decode it has opened new doors for understanding Kushite society, religion, and administration. The inscriptions found in the ancient pyramids of Meru, for instance, tell stories of the royal family, offering insights into the reigns of the Kushite pharaohs and their relationship with Egypt. Another critical aspect of rediscovering the Kingdom of Kush is the growing recognition of its importance in African history. For too long, African civilizations were marginalized or ignored in mainstream historical narratives, with much of the focus placed on Egypt or the Greco-Roman world. However, as African scholars, archaeologists, and historians take a more prominent role in the study of ancient Africa, the Kingdom of Kush is gaining the recognition it deserves as one of the most influential civilizations in Africa's history.